All right. Good morning, everybody, or afternoon or evening, depending on where you happen to be signing in from across the world today. My name is Jenna, and welcome to our conversation today, all about co-working and community, which is one of probably my favorite conversations. It's definitely one of the conversations I've been incredibly excited for. We have two just sensational guests for this conversation, which I will introduce in just a moment. Tessa, you are on the line. Feel free to pop your video on if you'd like. And Chris, if you are in the background, feel free to join in. There they are. Good morning again, both. I will introduce them in lots more detail in just a moment. But yes, happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, Dan. And hello from Cleveland. It's so cool to see people signing in from all over. I mean, lots of the US and Canada, but we've got, oh my goodness, St. John's, Newfoundland. Oh, it's my second home. Oh, I have such a soft spot for St. John's. I went to Memorial for my master's. So hi. So just while we're letting a few more folks sign in, it's also great to see familiar names on the line. I should say that before I go any further. Isaac, good morning. Rachel and Megan. And yes, we have also Amy and KWENCH is also here, Tessa, in case you didn't know, as well as
little Roddy there. Yeah.
And Mark, long time no chat, but great to have you here. Bruce as well. Nice to see you pop up. So lots of familiar names. We have so much to talk about. I think one of the things about community and co-working is that a lot of the time it feels synonymous for people in this industry, and there's so much to talk about. I will say this right now, we will not cover everything in about 45 minutes, but we will do our best to make sure everybody leaves here feeling inspired and with new insights or ideas to take away for their businesses. So meet our guests. My name is Jenna, in case I forgot to say that. I often do. I'm from the team here at Optix, and we have Chris and Tessa joining us for this conversation, both part of really incredible communities here, actually local to us in BC, Canada. And I have had the privilege of actually experiencing their communities in person, and it's something really special. So it's a real gift to have you both here as part of the conversation. Both very established businesses, but Chris, would love for you to introduce yourself briefly and also introduce Sweet Genius.
Sure. Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Pereira. I'm the one of the community managers at Sweet Genius. More specifically, our location in the Mount Pleasant neighborhood. We have at Sweet Genius, we have about probably 600 members across our three locations in Vancouver. I managed one before, and then I've shifted over to this one. So I've managed two of them before. And yeah, it's one of Vancouver's longest running co-working spaces, if I'm correct. It's the Mount Pleasant location. This is probably it's over 10 years now. This location, and our kids location was the first one, so that one was probably 11 to 12 years. But yeah, it's one of the more longer running ones. About me personally, this being community manager was not something I ever had on my radar before moving to Vancouver. I work as an actor, but I think that kind of brings, a different, set of skills like coming into the role. And I've kind of, I don't want to say blossom, but I feel comfortable doing.
Blossom, go on.
Okay. Yeah. I've kind of, the role fits me quite well. And I think it's something that, I really enjoy doing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's really, I think for everybody on the line, this is a really special combination, having a community manager, speaking to community alongside Tessa, who is an owner and founder. I think that you both bring very different and important perspectives to the conversation, but yes, Chris, it does fit you very well. Seeing you in action, and you are really phenomenal at your work. So Tessa, introduce yourself quickly, as well as KWENCH and what.
Yeah. So my name is Tessa McLaughlin. I'm the founder of KWENCH, which is a co-working culture club in Victoria, BC. We have about 450 members in a 20,000 square foot space. We are actively looking at expanding to Vancouver and also internationally to Australia. And yeah, what can I tell you? I mean, similar to Chris, my background, I'm a performer. And so I think that we make natural community builders, actually, because we usually have no worries going up and talking to people. Obviously I started off running the business by myself. And so I was the community manager for many years. And then now I have 8 incredible staff.
Thank you both. It's really true because at the end of the day, co-working and community is hospitality. Like this is so much a part of the conversation, and having the right people on your team, which I know we're going to dive into more, but having the right people on your team who are comfortable with engaging and starting the conversation for you is a really big, important part of success for community. So it does make sense that you are both performers. It's also a very common trend that I have seen across co-working, which is interesting. So to kick this all off, today we are going to be talking through, what is community? I think that's a big thing for us to, just level set on. We're also going to be diving into the actual strategy side behind community, not just what is your strategy for community, but how does community work as part of your business strategy? At the end of the day, we're all here to grow our businesses, to succeed and create a community that's memorable and lasting. And, revenue and income does matter here. So how community impacts that part of your strategy for your business is an important topic. And then also, what are the real tactics? So really talking about how to implement some of those tactics to help you grow your community. We're going to kick off with a quick poll just to get everybody a little bit more familiar, as well as to help our guests, Tessa and Chris, understand what the biggest challenges are for everybody who's on the line right now. So if you don't mind just taking a quick second here to answer the poll that just popped up. And what is your number one community building challenge right now? It also might be more than one, so feel free to select a couple. The number one that's coming up is my members aren't engaged. Well, first of all, you are in for a treat with Tessa and Chris, just given their experience and years in the industry, because I think you both have so many examples of, testing different content, trying different things, because really at the end of the day, when you're looking to increase engagement, you have to understand what is it that's going to work? Like, what do people want to engage with? So I think that's going to be a big part of our conversation. Also, the second one down to both of your points is my digital community isn't active. So yeah, thinking about what that experience in the digital world could feel like for community. And it is always so much more than just the physical space when we're talking or defining what community is. So yeah, I love that these are the top 2. And I think a couple of the other ones, it's interesting to see. I'm not sure how to get started as the third most popular. So hopefully from our conversation today, you will see or feel a bit of inspiration. Okay, so with that all being said, we've done a lot of research and had a lot of conversations. Like I think for me, it's like now in the thousands and thousands of conversations with owners, operators, community managers from all over the world. And when we look at the data and look at how our clients talk about community, these are the words that really come up: connection, belonging, collaboration, feeling supported, events, huge one, culture, if you're thinking about how you define culture. So, community can expand a lot of different things, but, maybe for you, Tessa, I'll kick this off. What does community and co-working even mean for you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, they can exist together and they also cannot. And I think for me, obviously we call ourselves a co-working, a work and culture club. So I believe the values of a space like what we run is actually the culture. And people will come for that culture. If people want just a space, so they just want the co-working and they want that sort of, which you talked about too, Jenny, you talked about how this is a hospitality play. It 100% is. It is for my business. Someone else might be starting one that's more of a real estate play. And I call that sort of the second wave of co-working, whereas I think KWENCH is in the third wave of co-working, which is a hospitality based. So to me, connection and community and belonging and being seen as part of what we do But once again, if you want to just run a co-working space that has offices, and that's fine too, whatever is your jam.
Yeah, I think it is a business decision defining what community means. Yeah, I think that is again a huge part of this conversation is, if you're new to co-working or you're a net new business, or you're looking to reestablish what community or engagement feels like, it really is, what is the strategy? What is community going to look like? What is it going to feel like for your business?
Yeah, and I think, I was just going to say quickly that single offices sell so well right now. And I'm sure, Chris, you've had that since the pandemic. They sell wonderfully. But do they create community? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, Chris, for you, when you think about what the co-working community means, how do you describe it, or how do you feel about the term community and co-working?
Yeah, it's very. I echo a lot of what Tessa had said. I think it is a place about feeling connected, and you have like a shared a support system, camaraderie. It's different from like working a regular office job, because I guess like technically is an office job, but then working like the company that you work at, a single office where you have like 20, 30 employees, whatever, in the space that your company owns. This is different. You're working with people that don't work with you. They work next to you, but you have there is no pressure to befriend the people that you work with. It's a bunch of individuals coming together to kind of create something new. From our experience at Sweet Genius, they're people that want to create that. They're people that want to kind of belong to something. They're people that don't want to work at home. They're tired of working at home. They just need to see another human being, not on Zoom or Teams or something like that. Exactly, not like this. And so they want to be a part of that. And then of course, like there is the business aspect of like, sometimes a team just needs an office, and but we at Sweet Genius, like we want to make sure that those teams are still incorporated into like maybe the general hot desking community and stuff, and that we try our best to make sure that everybody feels welcomed, and we set up opportunities for everyone to kind of mingle and get to know each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. So, in that same, maybe I'll flow into this one, but when you think about the strategy of community and your business, who your community is and knowing who your community is really essential. We've got people on the line actually today that I know who do run these niche communities. Maybe you're really targeting entrepreneurs, or you're targeting companies like you're saying, Chris, where you're really bringing in these groups of people who all have different company business or goals, but they all have the same goal of growing and succeeding and getting to know more people in their community. Childcare and co-working, where you're attracting moms, where you're attracting creators, or you could be a really generic, we're here for our community, we're co-working, and your goal is actually to attract a variety of people, which is also magic in itself. So this question of who is your community is a really important one to know. If you are not familiar with the term ICP, your ideal customer profile, this is one that is, a good reflection point for anybody on the line to be thinking about, because it informs the rest of your strategy. And so before we even dive in, we're going to talk more about KPIs. I really want to just here on this slide kind of highlight that whenever you are starting to implement things for engagement or community, knowing how you're going to measure this is a really big part of the conversation too. So we're going to talk more about this at the end. This is just here for us as a quick reminder that this is something that you should also be thinking about as you're kickstarting this strategy. So getting to know your ideal member, who you're attracting in the first place. And I would love maybe Tessa to start with you. If you're open to sharing some of your experience with the evolution of who the member at KWENCH is and who you are now attracting and retaining today.
If I can sort of take that question and sort of move it back to what you mentioned before, because I think it's important. So not necessarily relating to KWENCH, but I think that because I know there were a few people there, they didn't know where to start. And I think that figuring out what you're offering is so important, and who you're offering it to, because where you build that will affect those things. So, who you're catering to is going to influence what location in the city or the town, wherever you are. Like if you're looking at getting people who have families and live in the suburbs, then your location is going to want to be in the suburbs. Or if you want to be getting people who are commuting in and be in the city. So these will all inform where and how you build your space. Maybe you're going to attract creatives. So maybe you need storage space, because creatives typically need places to store their camera work, or photography, or music equipment. Maybe you want to be more of an enterprise level. So therefore you're just going to need big offices, and mainly offices. Solopreneurs, like all of this is then, or once you've decided that, then it's going to impact how you design the space. We were talking before this about if you want events to be part of one of your revenue streams, you have to design your space based on that. So who your customer is and what your revenue streams are will depend on your location. It'll inform your design, it'll inform your marketing, and it informs everything. So it's a really key part.
Third one on the list there is, how does your location and also space in itself influence the community experience? It's so big. So yeah, I mean, maybe that one needs to actually go to the top of the list. If you are already locked into a space and you're thinking about, okay, how do I use my space now to attract the right people who will use and benefit from this space? So yeah, I guess it could go either way, depending if you're on the side of, we already have our space established, or we're looking for a net new space, really thinking about how you'll design the space for a specific type of ICP. Yeah, really key. And in terms of, for you, Tessa, in terms of who you are attracting now, and for anybody who doesn't know KWENCH, this is an unbelievable space. It's just all color and creativity, and from the wallpaper on the walls to every fine detail of the color of the couches and pillows. It's, just a beautiful space. But how would you describe who you are attracting now? Like who is the member who's using your space today?
Well, I mean, I'm a creative, and so that's who I aim to attract. And the great thing is we're all creative. So some will just see it in different ways. So I believe wherever artists go, other people want to follow. And that's I choose my locations based on that. I don't go downtown. You'll typically find a KWENCH on the outskirts. And yeah, I mean, I think, one of the things that I say all the time is that you can have a beautiful space and it can be immaculate and pristine, and it's just everything that everyone wants. But if you don't have a community inside that, no one's going to come. And I talk about how we've all been in jobs that we've all stayed in jobs that we hate because we love the people. But we've also all left jobs that we love because we don't like the people. So that's the thing for me, that it doesn't matter how beautiful your space is. It's about the energy you bring, and what people like Chris, who are the community managers, the tone they bring and the connection they bring.
Yeah. So Chris, maybe I'll kind of piggyback off that and ask you a question, because again, I think the difference between you and Tessa here really is your current role and your goals. So how would you describe the role of the community manager impacting both, the type of members experience, who you're retaining, and just in general, the community at Sweet Genius?
So I'll start with, so at Sweet Genius, we tour every prospective member. So we make sure that everyone comes to an in-person tour, just so we have, we can meet in person, connect, because that's to us, that's an important first step. And on the tour, we just kind of, go over the details of the space, go over all the rules, the guidelines, and also just get to know them, get to know like what they're looking for, get to know, like, are they looking for a private office? Are they bringing in a big team? That kind of thing. What are their goals? And are we a good fit for that? Can we help them out with that? And I think I like to describe it as it's kind of a job interview. And so your community, for me, I'll think of like my community, they're my team. And I'm trying to find people that's a good fit for my team, a good fit for the culture that we've created together. And so you want to find people, like specifically like things that I look for. Are they a good person? Are they nice? Like, are they friendly? Do they seem like they're going to be, engaged in chatting with you on the tour, or are they a little bit reserved? Are they rude? That kind of thing. So if they're like, if they're a bit reserved and a little bit shy, that's totally fine. People get that, are like that maybe, but they're looking to like, get out of their comfort zone and join a co-working space to meet new people, that kind of thing. That's great. That's what we want. But if they're rude and they don't seem interested in joining the community, and they're not going to add a whole lot because they just don't care, that's probably not a good fit for us. Yep. So I think ultimately you want your ideal member that you bring in is somebody that also makes your job as a community manager easier. Mm-hmm. So you don't have, as a community manager, you kind of set the tone. So you're this person for us, specifically, since we meet everybody beforehand, you're their only friend there. If they weren't referred from, somebody else, you're the only person that they know there. Yeah. So it's kind of your job to break the ice, like introduce them to some members. Like if what they do for work, introduce them to other people that do kind of the same thing, or other people that they can, that are similar vibes, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you are the host. Like, yeah. You really are. And I actually have heard that term used at other co-working spaces. They call community managers their host. Mm-hmm. And that's, I feel like so much a part, like if you imagine it being your home that you're inviting people into, and that you want to say, everybody, welcome to the house party. Like, have you met Stu over here? And like, have you met Tessa? I mean, it's so much a part of the success of that member's onboarding is if they get off to the right start with meeting new people. And at the end of the day, co-working exists for a lot of different reasons. But from my experience, the number one piece for anybody going into the co-working or flex space industry comes from a place of, I'm trying to end isolation. I'm trying to create a space for people to come and feel connected. That's, the number one thing that I hear over and over and over again. And so really curating who you let into your house is important. And also a big part of the, step one in the strategy of making sure that community will feel successful. And there is actually a question here that's come up in the chat. And so I want to maybe ask this one now rather than wait, but this is from Jane. Have you had to turn people away that you felt weren't a good fit? And I think the answer is yes.
Yes. It's a very awkward, but the nice thing is you both kind of realize at the same time that it's not a good fit. That's from my experience. You both kind of realize that. There are some people that are just completely in their own head, kind of oblivious to it. And on the tours, they're telling me how things should be done, and they're rude, talking over me, that kind of thing. I'm like, okay, I know what kind of person you are. And just not a good fit for this space. But
I think it always comes from a place of, again, hospitality, empathy. I know, Tessa, you're nodding your head. And there's a lot of people in the chat as well who are saying, this is the same experience for me. Aaliyah also, good morning, Aaliyah from Vancouver. It's kind of a mutual ghosting.
Like we try to do it. Like, has anyone ever seen, well, I'm sure there's people, give me a hands up if you've seen the movie, My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Oh, yeah.
So
Right.
Exactly. So, and in my big fat Greek wedding, there is the best line that I use in business. I use it in relations. And it's when what movie? My Big Fat Greek Wedding. And anyway, there's a part where she wants to do something for her wedding, but she knows her father probably won't do it, and she goes, "But Mama, what do we do? Like, Papa won't do this." And the mum and the auntie laugh, and they go, "Oh, your Papa may be the head of the family, but we women, we are the neck, and we turn that head whichever way we want." And so what we do is when we can see someone is not quite a fit, I'll start to sort of point out things where I'm like, oh, I can see this part doesn't work for you. Oh yeah, that doesn't work for me. Oh, okay. And well, how about this? And then I'll say, we want you to feel the best wherever you go. And then I'll say, look, why don't you go and try these other co-working spaces in town? They're fantastic. And go and see if they suit you better. And they always go something else.
That's such a good suggestion too. Not to leave them hanging that the concept of co-working doesn't work for them, because again, there's a lot of people who seek out co-working for, they're isolated at home, or they're looking for more connection. They're new to the area, and you don't want to leave these people necessarily out on the street. But I think having that conversation like, it doesn't really feel like that's necessarily as aligned with what you're looking for. And circling all the way back there too, it all starts with making sure you're asking questions. So to your point, Chris, that you do invest in the tour, or you invest in the application. And this is not everybody's model. There's a lot of co-working spaces that are all focused on automating and, find the membership online that works for you. Come in tomorrow. That can be a part of the experience. Maybe I'll close the loop there on that one. But I think that, getting to know who your ideal member is, thank you for the points, both Chris and Tessa, on this one. I think in terms of understanding like tactics for how to have those conversations, if anybody else has specific questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. And everybody's going to go watch My Big Fat Greek Wedding after this today. So yeah.
Good. So good.
So I guess, curating your ideal member, we've kind of already touched on this, but when you're thinking about who your ideal member is, now you're a little bit more, I think it's also something you learn and you grow into, right? When you first launch your space, you might be thinking this is your ideal member, and that can shift and change over a year or 2 or 5 years. So let's say you're now in a space where you are landing and you understand who your ideal member is, and your space is accommodating that ideal member. What are some of the events that both of you, maybe I'll start with you, Tessa, but what are some of the events that you are seeing really win at this stage? And you might have had some that didn't win, but what are the events that are now really winning to help retain or also attract?
Events. Okay, so events. I see there being internal events and then external events. So there are events that are like you renting out your space, and that's another revenue stream. And then there's those internal events that are to bring new people in and keep the members engaged. So like most co-working spaces, we do lunch and learns. They are popular, and that's people in the community coming to us. They fill out a form that says what they want to share. It cannot be sales. It has to be that they're sharing a skill or knowledge. Those are pretty popular. We also, I think for our community ones, and we talked about this earlier, Chris, because I know you do it at Sweet Genius too, but we found that our bar isn't going as well since the pandemic. And so it's our morning events. It's the things that don't involve alcohol. And when people are here already, those ones are going well. And we talked about this too, Chris, that your event is a different client. And so the events that we put on in the evening are not going to be our members that have been here for 8 hours a day. It's going to be outside people coming in. And then the events we have at lunch times and during the day, that will be the members. But they're not going to come back, or they're not going to hang out unless we've got like a mad speaker. But that's what we find. So they're two different demographics, honestly, and we're trying to fine tune that right now.
So before I jump over to you, Chris, I'm going to publish our second poll and would love to just hear from everybody on the line what kind of events you are currently hosting in your space. Like, there's so many other ones that exist out there, but here's a couple of good examples. Happy hours and open houses being really popular. But any interest group events, I would say, and this is a huge one in terms of really creating successful community, is, having a starting point for people to talk about something. So if you have that interest group event where it's all focused on networking and the whole premise is come meet more people, then people are showing up with that intention. If it's a book club event, it's because they're excited for that book. Would love to see what folks are currently doing or not doing. We do have a couple of folks that are saying they're not running events, and that's okay too. Happy hours and interest group events are the top two, which is awesome. Community member-led events that's just bumped up to the top two, actually. And that's interesting. Community member-led events, I love this initiative where it's really allowing your members to, again, they're taking initiative for their experience. And I think that that's a really healthy sign of a healthy community. Maybe, Chris, I'll shift over to you. These are great answers. It's great to see, interest group events, but would love for you to speak maybe on the strategy behind the events that you're hosting now at Sweet Genius, and also the cadence, like how often you're now hosting events.
Mm-hmm. So similar kind of what Tessa had touched on. So we host 3 events, and kind of the situation with what Tessa noticed with their bar and like post COVID, happy hours used to be a huge thing at Sweet Genius. So they're before my time. I joined after COVID. But all I would hear is that they would go, they would start at 5 o'clock, and sometimes they would go until 9, 10 at night, and people just like enjoying themselves, hanging out. But we've noticed that's fallen off drastically. People are drinking less. And then I noticed that like when we provide drinks for folks, most people reach for the non-alcoholics. So whether that's like non-alcoholic beer or whatever, most people reach for that. So it's one of the signs that we notice. I'm like, okay, maybe this isn't everyone's jam. And so to get more numbers out, we introduced doing waffles on Fridays. And so we kind of like, we have like the 3 main events kind of circulate every week. So we have one event a week. Thursdays are still going to be our happy hours. Fridays, the following week after that, the Fridays will be waffles in the mornings. And then the following week after that, when we circle back, it'll be on the Wednesdays. We do, we do a lunch. So I'll make like, I'll do a charcuterie for folks, and I'll kind of make like a home, I'll brew I'll make some like fresh iced tea. And then I'll make like, I'll do like the full board. I'll like to make like a salami rose, that kind of thing. The members joke that I'm a cured meat florist with it, because I just really throw out.
Crazy to me how the community manager role is like always 10 hats at any given time, because there's guarantee you're also supporting with like the vacuuming or anything else on a given day. It's wild.
Question for you, Chris?
Yeah.
I've got a couple of questions in that, and I'm hoping other people want to hear this too. So my first question is the alcohol. Are you guys licensed, or do you provide it to people?
We provide it for free. Yeah.
Okay, because that's what we went from, providing it for free to now we're a licensed venue, so we cannot. And that's definitely been what we've seen a drop off. And I'd also read something how it actually doesn't feel safe for the female members as much when there's free alcohol. Anyway, so thank you for that. And then my next question was, how do you budget for that? And how do you go, okay, how much are we going to spend on this, and how do we make this back?
Right. So for this, we kind of, it's kind of built into our membership pricing. So we kind of just keep it. So with how our memberships are priced, it's just kind of that's the perk. So how we have it set up. So coffee and snacks, they are available for purchase. They're just a small price one. Coffee and tea. We offer the first one free, and then everything else we offer for $2 if you want to purchase it. And then snacks are also available for purchase. Up to $3 is the max. So we just kind of have that just to kind of like cover a little bit of the cost. We definitely don't make the money back there, not at all. But it just kind of helps cover the cost a little bit. And we found that offering everything for free, these specific weekly events, we kind of try to keep everything under $200.
Right.
Try like at the most. Sometimes with bigger events, sometimes we'll get outside catering. Like if we host like we did like a Cinco de Mayo party or a Christmas party, that kind of thing. We get outside catering for that, and then we charge like $35 for unlimited drinks and food, that kind of thing. But those are for our bigger events. But these are a little bit smaller weekly ones, just to kind of
it in.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And so it's just kind of like the perk of the membership. It's just something additional that you get.
And do you sell your snacks on the Optix marketplace?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Okay.
So people can just go and they can just choose which, if they picked a $1 snack, $2 snack, $3 snack, and they just click it, adds it to their invoice. Yeah.
Thank you for the questions, Tessa. I don't know if anybody else was thinking them, but those are fantastic. I want to skip ahead. We do have a couple other questions that we're going to get through, but just so everybody has sort of, I guess, where this conversation has started and where I want to make sure that the message feels really inspiring to walk away from today. It comes from a place of community being a part of your business strategy. It really has to be. You're thinking about who your ideal member is, of course. You're thinking about, what amenities attract the right people and also what keeps them in the space. I love that about both Sweet Genius and KWENCH. You have this home or this hub at all of your locations of a kitchen where people might bring their own lunch and they have this space to, either attend an event there or, have a conversation with a new person. And that's also for you, Chris, being a community manager, where you can help make those connections happen. So having the amenities that attract the right people and retain the right people. This is also a really great question that came in from Molly around, do you see a difference in event attendance based on demographics? And that is such, again, the top line here on the slide is offering events that speak to your demographics and also meeting the bottom line, meeting members where they're at digitally. I think that's another really, you have to be very honest about who your members are. If you're attracting people who are of an older demographic, make sure that you're not having, the rager parties with blue drinks and, whatever the teenagers are doing these days. I wouldn't know either, but there has to be a level of meeting your demographics where they are, both with the physical events as well as with the digital tools you're using. So when it actually comes down to implementing these tactics, there really are 3 tips that I want to make sure everybody feels they can walk away with today. These are things that Tessa and Chris and I both have chatted about before, but having a single home for people to connect greatly increases the chance of adoption of your community. So if you're sending people to 10 different apps or, hey, check out this event on Facebook, and that's the only place they can see it, and it's not actually listed in your app or it's not posted on Slack or WhatsApp, that's going to help create friction. So thinking about what that single home for people is in a digital space, super, super impactful for, again, the retention and adoption of your community initiatives. For an example, within Optix, we do have the inbox. So this is just an example. This could live in lots of different places for your community, but definitely having one place for people to go. So having a public group chat for here's all of our coffee chat events, or here's all of our, Thursday lunches, Waffle Fridays. Second really big piece here for, or a tactic that I'm going to make sure everybody has the chance to think about walking away is actually personalizing your community invitations and messaging. And Tessa and Chris haven't really dove into this, but I will speak on their behalf to say that they are actually both experts at brand. When you go into a Sweet Genius, it feels like a Sweet Genius. When you go into KWENCH and you receive their newsletter, they feel synonymous. There is a real power of the brand. That does not happen overnight. I'm sure you can both speak to this as years. Yeah. But really having a personalized and branded experience it helps you really level up. Again, you're attracting people who know this is what Sweet Genius is going to be, and it's consistent when they walk in the door. That's what they're receiving. A good example for this as well, for getting to know your members and actually personalizing their experiences, comes from collecting the right data. So within Optix, that could look like user properties. It could look like, whatever your software is, asking questions so that if part of your brand is, we give a pink cupcake on our member's birthday, make sure you know that birthday and make sure it's easy for you to have a task created or a message that goes out to that member. So yeah, definitely collecting the right data to curate your community and experience is super, super helpful. The last one for a tactic here is actually automation. And the biggest point here is, automating little things like putting them into the right Slack channel, putting them into the right Optix group conversation, having it, all live in a digital space for you automatically, so that at the end of the day, the people, the hosts, the community managers can do their job and make the magic happen and bring your experience, your vision of community to life. Optix is huge on automations. It's something that we invest a lot in and we love, but also it's never going to replace the Chris's and the Tessas in the world.
No, and I think, like Jenna, we were talking about that before. I think because you've got some people who will talk about how to get started, and obviously we've got lots of people who have spaces, so can all attest to this. But it doesn't matter how much you do online, unless this is the type of co-working space you want. Like, be very clear, figure out what you want. But if you want a community space and you want a vibrancy, you have to have a Chris. You have to have a few Chris's possibly. And we talked about this too. There's many people who want to start a co-working space off the side of their desk. Go for it. And I'm so glad we make it look so easy for you. But it's not easy, and it takes a lot of time. It takes knowing your technology that you're using, understanding the vibe that people like Chris are going to be absolutely key for your business. And if you can run another business while you're running a co-working space, well, my hat goes off to you. Yeah.
You really couldn't say it. You couldn't say it better. We really do, at Optix, we invest so heavily in automation because of the magic the person brings. That is there's too much time that we spend in our tools, and it's also the reality of a community manager or a host is there's a component of sales. You want to be able to have this space to have conversations. How is your membership going? How's that office going? You're needing more space. Great. I'll put you on the wait list for a bigger space. Those things happen in natural conversation. So there's one question, and I know we're at time, but there's always way too much to talk about when it comes to community. Michelle's question here, which is, she's pre-launch, just started events, but they're 5+ months out from actually opening and a bit worried about keeping the momentum up, or doesn't want to fatigue the audience that she's connecting with. So any thoughts from you, Tessa and Chris, on how you can keep momentum going with community? I want to say community at large, because I think it's not just events. It can be engagement in a lot of other spaces, great newsletters, great touch points, other places. So Tessa, I'll start with you. What would you say?
I mean, Michelle, I love that you're doing events. I think that's the way to get people. You're going to get exhausted from doing it for sure, but that's the way to do it. I started KWENCH. I had no money. I had nothing. I was a single parent, but I could sing. And so I started choirs. So I started 3 KWENCH choirs, a lunchtime choir, a family choir where they had to bring their kids and they learned different parts. And then So keep doing that. It's only 5 more months. You could do it. That would be my and get people to help you. Partner with people. Go to the university or go out and find people doing cool stuff and see if they want to partner with you to do something, so you don't have to do all of it.
I love that. Yes, partnership. That's actually definitely one of the things that we've talked about as well, is make your life easier by attracting the right partners to both help you grow, but also help you have community initiatives. So great suggestion, Tessa. Anything from you, Chris, that you would add in terms of how to keep community feeling fresh?
Yeah, I think it's like once you open on the day, like consistency is key. So yeah, there's going to be some down weeks where nobody shows up to your events and that kind of thing. You got to keep consistent so that people know, oh, I couldn't make it to that last event, but I'm going to try and make it to the next one or whatever. Consistency is key. Making sure that the members that you attract do the job for you. So like ultimately, like that's the members that you create, but it's but it's like for a community manager too. Like I try to find people like that I bring in that like can help, like, you know, that are actively trying to like meet new people, and that are that they're going to start the conversations in the kitchen before I even get to them. So they're like, oh hey, that kind of thing. That I love that. That's fantastic. And they're the people that are like, oh, hey, what do you do for work? Oh, great, I do this, blah, blah, blah. Maybe we should connect. If you find those people, that's great. That's half my job done already. And so
that's also what Kyle just pointed out in the chat. Members want to help. Yes. And Tessa, you're double downing on this one, but use your members' enthusiasm. I think that's so brilliant, Kyle. I think it's also to the advantage of their experience, the ones who are enthusiastic. If you let them have a platform to be enthusiastic, their experience also, you know, becomes a brighter and more memorable experience. So I love that initiative. I think that also, Nalicia, this is a great question just around, I'm needing ideas with community retention. And also, Kyle, your question around feeling digitally exhausted, I think I want to come back to that one very quickly if we have an extra moment. But I think when it comes to keeping things fresh, your members are the ones who know what they want. And I feel like we kind of make this big deal about we need to know everything. Your members will tell you. Ask them. Have a survey go out. Ask if you're using Optix, use the user properties or use an announcement to say, hey, we want to hear from you. Here's our 5 proposed events for this summer. Which one do you want to go to? And let people say what they're excited about. It's going to make your life a lot easier. So I would start with that. And also, one of the pieces that we talked about around KPIs, you know, I'm full circling here. And again, I said it from the beginning, but community and coworking could be a day-long chat. It's like you never have enough time to talk about it. But one of the biggest KPIs that Tessa, you commented on as part of your, like, the most important metric that you see is the feedback, surveys and scores, and asking really, I'd say, intimate questions of like, how many friends have you made at KWENCH? That's a great question to know. If your goal and your brand of community is to connect people, ask them the real stuff. How many people have you actually met and will continue to be friends with outside of our space? The retention rate is also a great sign of a strong community. So I love that this came up as a question for, you know, ideas with community retention. I think that thinking about also, this is a slight side pivot here, but you mentioned this, Chris, around how you afford to offer all of these consistent events is baked into the actual membership. So I would say in terms of membership retention, another really important strategy is to actually look at your memberships. What is included in those memberships? You know, if you're seeing a lot of people who don't want to buy the membership for $400 a month, but they're excited about events, maybe you need to offer a $99 event membership a month. Or maybe you need to offer the no event membership because there's people who are more interested in, hey, I just need to be here on Mondays and Tuesdays. That's my day. And I'm done after that. I miss out on a lot of events. I'd prefer to have the $200 membership. So I would also really encourage you to think about what your offerings are for your business that are blending with your community strategy.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I will only 10 minutes over, but we had one question that we didn't really get the chance to dive super deep into, which is around the digitally exhaustion. I love the question, Kyle. I think it's also, you know, we've spoken a bit to it, but I think it really comes down to, again, knowing your demographics for what makes them comfortable. Some communities don't want to connect digitally. There's some people who want to be there from 9 to 5, and having that event at 11 a.m. is going to be a better suited way for them to connect. I love that Tessa and Chris, you know, you're both seeing that trend, which is, you know, I think that's powerful. So I think knowing what makes your demographic comfortable, also knowing who your ICP is and what, the expected consistent events that demographic would be interested in is also going to be helpful for you. And also, it doesn't have to be, an app that you're constantly pushing people to. It could be, hey, use our app for, everything for one place, but you get a monthly newsletter with everything else that makes you feel fantastic. So it can be definitely different channels. Yes. Also, Roddy, thank you for the extra note here. This chat has been so awesome. Thank you everybody so much for your engagement, your ideas, your thoughts that you've shared today. There's been really great, I think just in general from Chris and Tessa, there's been really great ideas, and I hope that people on this call will start to pull from them. Above all, though, if you are looking for any additional support in your community strategy, we always encourage you to reach out to Optix if you are an Optix client, but you can definitely reach us through your support chat, and you can find Tessa and Chris as well through us if you have any specific questions. So don't hesitate to throw those our way, and we will make sure that Tessa and Chris have the chance to speak to them. And you are so welcome, everybody. It's so nice to see so many names again. Aaliyah and Isaac and Raul, Tara, Molly, thank you all so much for joining. Look forward to seeing you all at our next event. And Jane, Newfoundland. I'll be there in a few minutes. I will definitely come check out Higher Ground. That's awesome. Tessa and Chris, any final words?
Thank you very much for having us. And great.
This was fantastic.
Yeah,
great meeting you too, Tessa.
I really want to say that it's, I feel like it's an understatement to call you both leaders in co-working. I really view you as leaders in community. And that is so much a part of the legacy of both KWENCH and Sweet Genius, as well as, everybody on this line who cares about community. That is a huge part of your legacy. So thank you for the impact that you help make on our communities at large.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Have a wonderful rest of the day, everybody. Thank you so much for being here.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.